Hi guys, I'm Sahib. No, scratch all that. Let's get straight to it. Zac Goldsmith, Tory candidate of the Mayor of London elections 2016, has been caught running a dirty campaign of fear, stereotypes and cheap generalizations of our minorities using his old colonial tactics of divide and rule. By doing so, the Conservative Party have shown their willingness to embrace racial stereotypes in order to retain control and power of the capital. The scandal came to light when the Conservatives began posting out letters signed by Prime Minister David Cameron tailored at ethnic minorities, specifically at the Hindu Gujarati and the Sikh Punjabi community. Now, these letters suggest that by voting for a Muslim mayor, namely Sadiq Khan, we would essentially be compromising our public safety and welcoming the threat of terrorist attacks here in London. And they emphasise that Zac Goldsmith appeals more to some communities than others simply because 1. He welcomed the Indian Prime Minister, and 2. For proclaiming to being the vanguard of protecting Indian jewellery. Some argue he does have a point. And to be honest, it does make a little sense. And there is a lot of truth to it. So to be fair, what's actually wrong with what he's doing?
Oh wait, hang on, wait a minute, Saib. Let me tell you exactly what's wrong with that. First, other than this campaign being incredibly divisive, disingenuous and immoral beyond belief, it's contradictory to the ethos of the Conservative Party, which is what exactly?
The mantle of one nation, one united kingdom.
So why, Mr. Cameron, did you openly endorse this message of disharmony, division and hostility amongst ethnic minorities by signing this declaration of segregation? But let's talk about generalizations, Saib, because they truly reveal just how out of touch Zac Goldsmith really is, both with respect to ethnic minorities and the first principles of democracy. Generalization number 1, everyone in the Sikh or Hindu community lives with a lot of gold and our homes are predominantly targeted by thieves, to which the abolition of the wealth tax will resolve. Generalization number 2, every Hindu Gujarati sports Modi, and if you've seen my previous video or know anything about this man, this is far from the truth. Generalization number 3, Punjabi, Sikh and Hindu Gujarati communities are not concerned with the failing infrastructure, housing crisis, child poverty rates, homelessness, cutbacks to our health and education services in London. And I know I'm missing loads more, but read the letters for yourselves and see what other ridiculous generalizations they give birth to. Feel free to leave a comment below. Furthermore, there's a strong underlying theme of Islamophobia here in these letters if you haven't noticed already. In Zac Goldsmith's leaflets, Sadiq Khan is described as radical and divisive. Now what's that supposed to mean? And when Sadiq Khan protested this description, Zac Goldsmith argued that Sadiq had played the race card, when in actual fact it's you, Zac Goldsmith, who's playing the race card right now with your racial profiling campaign. Owen Jones sums this up best by describing Zac Goldsmith's campaign as, quote, a naked attempt to tap into anti-Muslim prejudices in a country which Muslim and extremists are synonymous in the minds of all too many. But as well as this campaign being Islamophobic, we need to take a closer look at the language, because the issue with the narrative of this campaign and that of Islamophobia go hand in hand like prime ministers and tax havens. Because the entire rhetoric of this campaign stinks of fear and exploitation of the cultural tensions that lie between the Sikh, Hindu and Muslim communities here in Britain. Now, the theme of this campaign creates this image in your mind of Sadiq Khan and the Labour Party as some kind of evil scientist in a laboratory experimenting on a bunch of lab rats. And in this analogy, the lab rats represent you, the London electorate, the citizens of London. Now, did the Conservative governments not learn anything from the dehumanising treatment of refugees, treating them as some kind of less worthy subhuman species? Even the algorithm used to determine the postal distribution of these letters reflects a disassociated relationship between the Conservatives and their electorate with respect to their cultural identity. I mean, mistakes were made. The most famous example is that of Barbara Patel. Why? Because this was a lady of Jewish origins who had married into a Muslim family that the Conservatives then presumed she was a Hindu Gujarati Londoner. And David Cameron said that multiculturalism's failed. How wrong he truly was. Now here's what Barbara Patel had to say about all this. Goldsmith was attempting to cause a division between the London Hindu community and its Muslim community. Shame on you. This is a facile and inaccurate attempt at racial profiling. You have made a number of assumptions based on my surname. Patel equals Gujarat and Gujarat equals Hindu, and have attempted to use these ethnically based assumptions to scare me into voting for your candidate, Zac Goldsmith. You know, in the same speech that David Cameron said that multiculturalism has failed, he also said, quote, a genuine liberal country believes in certain values and actively promotes them. Well, Mr. Cameron, on a closer inspection, let's see what certain values it appears you and your Conservative emissaries are actively promoting here in this campaign. Firstly, as Sahib had mentioned earlier before, the old traditional colonial tactic of divide and rule, where you are continuously appealing to the minority of a minority so that you can then later claim to represent the majority of that minority. And I only have one question to all this. Which one am I, Zach? The house Negro or the field Negro? And the second certain value that your party is actively promoting is the low and pathetic campaigning technique of fearmongering and scapegoating London's real issues unfairly onto migration, Islam and terrorism. Because these letters state that Zac Goldsmith is the only real and sensible choice South Asian communities can make in order to keep our streets safe from terrorist attacks, i.e. Sadiq Khan, the terrorist sympathiser. Finally, the last certain value that your party is actively promoting here is that of the sick use of animalistic dehumanisation, where you're stripping our society of compassion and replacing it with the notion of profit. First, we were a swarm of refugees. Then we were just a bunch of migrants. Then we were terrorist sympathisers. And now we're lab rats under Sadiq Khan. Saib, you know what he's trying to do throughout all of this. He's trying to make London great again.
Whoa, okay, so hold up, let me get this right. So what you're saying is that these letters have actually put us into a box and are steering us away from the real issues that concern us here in London. So it looks like what these Tories have tried to do with these letters is to create a dividing line between the British Asian Muslims and British Asian Indians. That just goes to show how little they know about Asian minorities. By sending out letters based on our surnames and assuming that this subsequently determines our religion just shows how reckless and how ignorant the Tories really are. Let me educate you, Mr. Zac Goldsmith. Surnames are not based on religion. If anything, they're based on caste. So for example, you'll find Punjabi Pakistani Muslims having the same surname as Punjabi Sikhs or Hindus. So thank you for dividing us even further than we have ourselves. Looks like the Tories truly stuck to their roots. As Churchill said, and I quote, "Religious conflicts in South Asia justified British rule." So it's not enough that you divided our homeland and our people in Punjab in 1947, you're now using the same colonial tactics here in London in 2016. And let me tell you, it's just pathetic. So Suk, come to think of it, the points you made about Islamophobia really makes me wonder why Zac Goldsmith really made that visit to Singh Sabha Gurdwara in Southall. Surely it can't be to understand the Sikh struggle because he loves to boast about how he welcomed the Hindu right-wing fascist leader in Wembley. You know who I'm talking about. It just baffles me how the Tories can suggest that every Indian supports Modi. That's like saying every British voter supports David Cameron. And we know that's not true. But Suk, despite all that, you know as well as I know, certain stereotypes are just true. And if you don't believe me, just listen to Exhibit A.
How did you react when you got the letter?
Well, I opened it and I saw that, it was targeted blatantly because I'm a Gujarati. So it said, "Oh, we are here for the Gujarati community." And to be honest, I did not find it offensive. I just thought, haha, this is all political games. And I didn't really think twice about it. And to be honest, I can see where David Cameron was coming from because they want to build good links with people from various backgrounds, and the way that he's doing it is by tailoring the campaign to suit the needs of the Indian community. And I'm pretty sure that he would probably do it across various ethnicities, and I don't have any problem with that.
Alright, cut. So what she's essentially saying is that stereotypes are somewhat true. We may offend a lot of people in the process, but who gives a care in the world about them? Listen, Saib, continuously conforming to our stereotypes insults our intelligence and the principles of integration. If you honestly don't see the threat, let me explain what this means, because it's a slippery slope. Because under this rationale, there is no reason why the government can't grant more police powers for stop and search towards black and ethnic minorities, or even initiate government forces patrolling Muslim neighbourhoods on the mere fact of being exactly that, Muslim neighbourhoods. What these letters truly reveal is that the Conservative government, our national representatives, are genuinely convinced that it's okay to create and propose policies that conform to our stereotypes as opposed to looking to achieve the principles of social justice, namely the equal distribution of rights, resources and opportunities for all our citizens. And if you want to talk about stereotypes, let's start the discussion about how out of touch Zac Goldsmith really is, because you must be deluded to only concern yourself with a handful of cultural issues only to then claim to be the representative of an entire community. And David Cameron's response on this whole issue was, quote, Zac Goldsmith has made it clear he will reach out to every single part of London, and that means reaching out to every part of the community within London. And I know exactly the type of individuals that are advising Zac Goldsmith on this cultural campaign, and I can assure you that they are the same individuals that can only benefit from such policies. Because if you read the letters, David Cameron's opening line is that Zac Goldsmith is a man who passionately believes in delivering for the people he represents. And being the MP of Richmond Park and North Kingston, it's no wonder how relevant this is, considering it supports much of the stereotypes his campaign is based on, namely Indian jewellery and the wealth tax, which speaks largely to the upper class and upper caste Indians. If you cared about Indians, Zac, then why did you vote against making it illegal to discriminate on the basis of caste? Why did you not take this opportunity to challenge the cultural social hierarchy that continues to suppress minorities on the basis of heritage and socio-economic status? And why did you vote in favour of the bedroom tax, a policy that strictly hits those on benefits and disproportionately more against the disabled? Why did you vote to increase the tuition fees, restricting access to education for millions of low-income families? So if you care so much about minorities, why does your parliamentary record stand consistently against them? Why are you making it harder to resolve all of the above issues that hits black and ethnic minorities and low-income families disproportionately more? If there is any candidate that is a threat to London and the welfare of its people, it's Zac Goldsmith, because he would rather instill fear and division as opposed to compassion and unity. Now in 2013, Zac Goldsmith stated, quote, "Standing for mayor is simply not going to happen. The odds of me succeeding in the mayoral contest, I think people have had enough of white male Etonians. I'm not sure my chances would be very high." Not only are you proving yourself right as the election day draws closer, but please Zac, stick to discussing your own stereotype, not others. Because if I was running for mayor, how well do you think it would have been perceived if I chose to implement some outlandish blanket policy on the mere premise of others being white male Etonians? It's insulting, it's patronizing, it's incredibly disgusting and extremely irresponsible having to resort to this kind of ethnical bargaining and negotiation for our vote like this. Our social antagonisms are not alienable. They are not something you could just claim to represent or take ownership of when it suits you, i.e. in the build-up of elections. Have some respect. Try to unite us and not divide us.
Suk, you're right. People generally get accustomed by the established order of things and tremble at the mere idea of change. But it's this exact spirit that needs to be replaced by the revolutionary spirit. We must stick together and start expecting more from our Mayor of London. Now the reality is, Sikh, Hindu, Muslim issues are all human issues and they affect every single person in London. We can't be misguided and led astray from the issues that are affecting us as Londoners. We have to remain in solidarity because we all want affordable housing, better transport, education and good health services. So ask yourself, do you really want a mayor who bases his policies on ill-informed stereotypes and generalizations? Do you want a mayor who exploits the fault lines of our religious communities for the sole purpose of power? And do you really want to vote for a person who's for caste discrimination, who voted for the bedroom tax, who's for higher tuition fees, and who's willing to use these divisive and radical tactics? If you want to make a stand against racism, against bigotry, against racial profiling, then on the 5th of May is your chance to do exactly that.
Please share this video as much as you can, as we only have a matter of days left before the Mayor of London election takes place. Just remember, democracy is a system of representation. The result of the general election last year reveals that London is largely a non-conservative city, with 46 out of 73 constituencies voting for either Labour or Liberal Democrats. We now have the opportunity to democratically serve this representation on the 5th of May and restore London's mayor as a non-conservative leader for the city. Zac Goldsmith is an extension of the Conservative Party, and like others, he is exploiting the religious and cultural tensions between sub-contained communities, representing only the interests of the top class of society and creating policies based on stereotypes and racial profiles. If you are eligible to vote, then please go out on the 5th of May and vote for a mayor that serves and represents the people. Make your vote one that is against racism, a vote that is against bigotry, and a vote that is against racial profiling.